The hardest part wasn't the insults, or the inappropriate touching, or watching the manager pocket cash meant for his staff. The hardest part was the smile. Sophie forced herself to smile and take it. Not because she wanted to, but if she didn't, several servers would lose their jobs by Monday, and she couldn't let that happen. She couldn't let months of wage theft, harassment, and bribery disappear without proof. She couldn't let the billionaire know she understood every word he was saying in Japanese. And most of all, she couldn't let anyone discover the secret she'd been hiding since the moment she walked into that restaurant. Because Sophie wasn't just a waitress, and tonight, everyone involved was about to make the worst mistake of their lives. Stories like this have a way of lingering. If you want more that stay with you, kindly subscribe. Now, 36 hours earlier, the overhead light in her parents' office buzzed like a dying insect. Sophie stood in the doorway, watching her father trace the same column of numbers for the third time. Her mother sat across from him, arms folded, jaw tight. "The numbers are perfect," her father said quietly. "Too perfect." Sophie stepped inside. "What do you mean?" Her mother looked up. Dark circles framed her eyes, the kind that came from weeks of nights of thinking and pondering on an issue. "This branch, 3 staff members quit this week alone. No exit interviews, no explanations. Just walked out mid-shift and never came back." Sophie moved closer to the desk. Her family owned a chain restaurant, different locations. But this particular branch has something off about it. Even she could see it from all the files tabled. "What did they say when you asked?" Sophie said. Her father closed his eyes. "They didn't. They just disappeared." The word hung in the air like smoke. Sophie reached for one of the schedules. She scanned the names, the dates, the sections. Her eyes stopped on a pattern she shouldn't have been able to see. But once she did, she couldn't unsee it. "They all worked in the VIP section," she said. Her parents exchanged a glance, the kind of glance that said they'd already noticed but hadn't wanted to believe it. Her mother leaned forward. "We've tried talking to the other staff. They say everything's fine, but they won't look us in the eye when they say it." "And the manager?" Sophie asked. Her father's jaw tightened at the name. Derek Huang, their floor manager for 2 years. Efficient, charming, the kind of guy who remembered birthdays and knew everyone's coffee order. "Derek says morale's never been better," her father said. "Tips are up, complaints are down, everything's running smoothly." Sophie set the schedule down. "But you don't believe him?" "Exactly!" Her mother's voice went up an octave. "Because workers don't just drop their jobs without notice. And then, when I checked the surveillance footage from last month, several hours were missing. Just gone. Derek said it was a technical glitch." "Was it?" Sophie asked. "The tech company said someone manually deleted them." The buzzing lights seemed louder now. Sophie's pulse kicked up a notch. "And all the private investigators I hired failed to find something tangible. It's like they're all covering for something they don't want us to see. And I can feel it in my bones," her mother said. "Let me work a weekend shift," she said. "VIP section. I'll just watch." Her father stood abruptly. "Absolutely not." "Why not?" "Because if something's happening, if someone's threatening our staff, or worse, I'm not putting you in the middle of it." Sophie met his eyes. "They won't talk to the owners, or private investigators, but they might slip around the new girl." Her mother stood too. "Sophie, I won't confront anyone. I won't take risks. I'll just be eyes and ears." She paused. "Let me help now." The silence stretched. Finally, her mother spoke. "No confrontation, no heroics. If anything feels wrong, you walk." "Agreed." Her father looked like he wanted to argue, but Sophie had inherited his stubbornness, and he knew it. "1 weekend," he said. "If you don't find anything, we'll bring in another outside investigator." Sophie nodded. With some strings pulled, she got hired in hours and was to start immediately. She was already planning her next 48 hours. She sat on her bed, staring at the duffel bag she'd packed for the weekend. Black pants, white button-up, non-slip shoes, the uniform of invisible labor. Her phone buzzed. Her boyfriend, Davy's name, lit up the screen. She answered. "Hey, you're really doing this?" His voice carried that edge of concern he tried to hide behind casual questions. "Something scared those workers enough to quit without pay," Sophie said. "I need to know what. What if it scares you too?" She reached into her nightstand drawers and pulled out her phone's voice memo app. "Then at least we'll know what we're dealing with." "Sophie." "I'll be fine." She opened the app and tested the recording. Her voice played back clear and sharp. "I'll keep notes. Voice memos when I can. Just observations." Davy was quiet for a moment. Then, "I know someone in the DA's office. If you find something real, I can connect you." Sophie's chest tightened. This was Davy, always 3 steps ahead, always preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that," she said. "If anything feels wrong, I'll walk, I promise. I'm holding you to that." She smiled despite herself. "I know. Text me every night, even if it's just to say you're okay. Every night. I love you. I love you too." She hung up and stared at the phone in her hand. The voice memo app was still open, ready to record, ready to capture whatever truth was hiding in her parents' restaurant. She grabbed the duffel bag and headed for the U.S. door. At the restaurant, the kitchen smelled like garlic, ginger, and something burning that no one had noticed yet. Sophie pushed through the double doors into the dining room and nearly collided with a server carrying a tray of wine glasses. "Sorry," the server started, then froze when she saw Sophie. "You're new." "First night," Sophie said. "I'm Sophie." The server's eyes darted toward the manager's office, then back. "Kate, welcome to hell." She walked away before Sophie could respond. The dining room was elegant in that way expensive restaurants always were. Soft lighting, exposed brick, tables spaced just far enough apart to create the illusion of privacy. The kind of place where people spent $800 on dinner and felt like they were getting a deal. "Sophie?" She turned. A man in his late 30s approached, hand extended, and smiled widely. Derek Huang. Up close, he looked exactly like his employee photo. Sharp jawline, perfectly styled hair, eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled. "That's me," Sophie said, shaking his hand. "Welcome to Lunar." His grip was firm, but not aggressive. "Your referrer speaks highly of you." "They're biased," he laughed. "Fair. Come on, I'll show you around." He led her through the dining room, pointing out sections, explaining the flow of service, and the hierarchy of tables. The VIP section was in the back corner. Darker lighting, more space between tables, a velvet rope that suggested exclusivity without being obnoxious about it. "You'll mostly be in the VIP section," Derek said. "High rollers. They tip well, but they expect perfection." "I can handle it." "Good, because if they're unhappy—" He trailed off, smile still in place, but something colder underneath. "We all pay for it." Sophie filed that away. "Understood." He introduced her to the other servers. Kate, nervous, barely making eye contact. Jason, overly friendly, asked too many questions about where she'd worked before. Lena, confident, seemed to run the floor with quiet authority. "Any questions?" Derek asked. "Just one. What happened to the last person who worked the VIP section?" Derek's smile didn't falter. "She moved to New York. Better opportunities." "Right. Don't worry, you'll do great." He clapped her shoulder and walked away. Sophie watched him go. Then she pulled out her phone, pretended to check the time, and opened her voice memo app. First shift, 6:47 p.m. Derek just lied about why the last VIP server left. Checking why. She hit pause and slipped the phone back in her pocket. The dinner rush hit like a wave. Sophie moved through it on autopilot, taking orders, running food, refilling water glasses, smiling until her face hurt. but she had done it multiple times before she left for university 5 years back, so she could handle it. The VIP section was exactly what she'd expected. Men in expensive suits, women in dresses that cost more than rent, conversations about deals and mergers and offshore accounts. Then table 12 started getting loud. Sophie glanced over. A middle-aged businessman had his hand on Kate's wrist. He was making her bend so low that her cleavage was the only thing in his gaze. Kate's face had gone pale, unable to cover her bosom without tilting the tray in her other hand. Sophie moved closer, pretending to check on the neighboring table. "I'm sure we can find something you'd enjoy, sir," Kate was saying. Her voice shook. "I'm enjoying the view right here," the man said. His colleagues laughed. Kate tried to pull away. His grip tightened. Then Derek appeared. He materialized beside the table like he'd been summoned, smile perfect, posture relaxed. "Mr. C, good to see you again." Mr. C released Kate's wrist. "Derek, tell me this one's going to be more accommodating than the last." "Kate's still learning your preferences. Why don't you let me handle your table tonight?" Derek turned to Kate. "Go check the inventory in the back. I'll cover." Kate didn't need to be told twice. She was gone in seconds, moving so fast she almost knocked over a chair. Derek slid into the space she'd left. "Apologies, Mr. C. She's a bit new to VIP service. I prefer those old servers who smile and don't complain." "Noted. Drinks on the house tonight." Mr. C's expression shifted from annoyance to satisfaction in an instant. "You always take care of me, Derek. That's what we're here for." Sophie stood frozen at the neighboring table, water pitcher in hand, watching the entire exchange. Mr. C's colleagues had already moved on to other conversations. Kate was gone, and Derek was laughing at something Mr. C said, as if nothing had happened. She returned to the kitchen and found Kate in the walk-in cooler, arms wrapped around herself. "You okay?" Kate looked up, eyes red. "I'm fine." He shouldn't have... "It's fine. Derek handled it." She pushed past Sophie and returned to the floor. Sophie stood alone in the cooler, cold air biting her skin. She pulled out her phone. 8:23 p.m. A VIP customer got physical with a server. The manager intervened, not to protect the server, but to smooth things over with the customer. The server was too scared to complain. She paused. Managers indulging customers, not protecting staff. She saved the recording and went back to work. Sophie's feet ached. Her face hurt from smiling, and she'd slept maybe 4 hours between shifts. But she was back the next day. The dining room was already half full when she arrived. Friday night crowd, louder than Thursday, money flowing faster. Derek was at the host stand, tablet in hand, orchestrating the floor like a conductor. "Sophie," he looked up with that same easy smile. "Ready for round 2? "Always." "Good. We've got a full VIP section tonight. Stay sharp." He handed her a table assignment sheet. "Table 14 is priority. If they ask for anything, and I mean anything, you come to me first." She glanced at the reservation name. William Zhao. No notation. No special requests. Just a name and a time. "Who is he?" Derek's smile tightened at the edges. "Someone we want to impress." He walked away before she could ask more. Sophie found Lena restocking wine glasses behind the bar. "You know William Zhao?" Lena looked up sharply. "Where'd you hear that name?" "Derek said he's coming in tonight. Priority table." Lena set down the glass she was holding. "He's never been here before, but Derek's been trying to land him for months." "Why?" "Because Zhao's the kind of guy who spends 50 grand on dinner and doesn't blink. And if he likes you, he tells all his rich friends." She picked up the glass again. "Derek sees dollar signs." "What kind of guy is he?" Lena's expression went carefully neutral. "The kind who knows exactly how much power he has." Sophie filed that away and headed to the floor. William Zhao walked in at 8:47 p.m. Sophie knew it was him before Derek even moved. Something about the way he carried himself, The posture of a man who'd never been told no and wouldn't know what to do if he was. He wore a suit that probably cost more than Sophie's car. His watch caught the light like a small sun, and his eyes swept the dining room with the casual assessment of someone appraising property. Derek met him at the entrance. Sophie couldn't hear what they said, but she saw Derek's body language shift. The confident floor manager disappeared. In his place, someone trying very hard to seem calm. Derek led Zhao to table 14. Sophie approached with water and menus. "Good evening. My name is Sophie. I'll be taking care of you tonight." Zhao looked at her. Really looked. The kind of look that made her skin crawl and her spine straighten simultaneously. "Water's fine," he said. His voice was smooth, controlled. "I'll start with the tasting menu, whatever the chef recommends." "Excellent choice." Sophie set down the menus. "Any dietary restrictions?" "None." He leaned back in his chair. "I trust you'll make sure everything's perfect." It wasn't a question. Of course. She returned to the kitchen and found Derek already there, talking to the head chef in rapid Mandarin. He switched to English when he saw her. "Table 14 gets priority on everything. If anything's delayed, you tell me immediately." "Understood." "And Sophie?" He stepped closer. "Zhao's testing us tonight. Everything we do either builds a relationship or kills it. We don't get second chances with guys like him." "I've got it." Derek held her gaze a moment longer, then nodded and walked away. Sophie pulled out her phone in the supply closet. 8:52 p.m. William Zhao arrived. First-time customer. Derek's nervous, treating this like an audition. She paused. "Derek said we don't get second chances. But what's he auditioning for?" The first course went smoothly. So did the second. Zhao ate in silence, occasionally checking his phone, never looking at Sophie directly unless he needed something. Then Kate appeared at table 12, right next to Zhao's. Sophie was refilling water glasses when she heard it. A sharp intake of breath. The sound of someone trying very hard not to make a scene. She turned. Zhao had reached across from his table and grabbed Kate's wrist. Not a gentle touch, a grip. His fingers wrapped completely around her forearm, thumb pressing into the soft flesh of her inner wrist. Kate froze. Her tray wobbled. "Excuse me," Kate said quietly, trying to pull away. Zhao didn't let go. "You look tense. Relax." "Sir, I need to—" His thumb pressed harder. "I said relax." Sophie moved without thinking. She was at Kate's side in 3 steps. "Mr. Zhao, can I get you anything?" Zhao looked up, irritation flashing across his face. Then he saw Sophie and something shifted. He released Kate's wrist. "Just noticing your colleague looked stressed," he said smoothly. "Long shift?" Kate's hand trembled as she pulled it back. A red mark circled her wrist where his fingers had been. "We're fine," Sophie said. "Kate, why don't you check on table 9? I'll cover it here." Kate didn't need to be told twice. She was gone in seconds. Zhao smiled at Sophie. "Sensitive, isn't she?" "She's professional." Sophie kept her voice even. "Can I get you anything else?" "Not right now." Sophie walked away, pulse hammering in her throat. She found Kate in the walk-in cooler, arms wrapped around herself, breathing hard. "You okay?" Kate looked up, eyes wet. "I'm fine." "He shouldn't have—" "It doesn't matter." Kate's voice was flat. "It never matters." "What do you mean?" "This is the 20th time this week. Different customers, always trying to touch us inappropriately. And every time I try to say something, Derek tells me I'm overreacting. That they're just being friendly. That if I can't handle VIP customers, I should work somewhere else." Sophie's hands curled into fists. "That's not okay." "Tell that to Derek when it's your turn." Kate pushed past her and left. Sophie stood alone in the cold, watching her breath fog in the air. She pulled out her phone. 9:15 p.m. William Zhao just physically grabbed Kate. Derek wasn't there to see it, but based on Kate's reaction, this isn't new. This is a pattern. She paused, anger making her voice shake. And I'm certain Derek knows and does nothing on purpose. She saved the recording and went back to work. It was during the third course that Zhao started speaking Japanese. Sophie was refilling his water when the words hit her. She kept pouring, kept her expression neutral, and kept breathing. He was talking to himself, or so he thought. A quiet comment about the food, the service, the ambiance. Nothing insulting. Just observations in a language he assumed no one understood. Sophie set down the pitcher and walked away. In the kitchen, her hands shook slightly. She gripped the counter and forced herself to breathe slowly. He was testing the staff, seeing who spoke Japanese, seeing who reacted. She returned with the fourth course. Zhao looked up when she set down the plate. "Do you speak other languages?" he asked in English. Sophie met his eyes. "Just English, sir." "Shame." He picked up his fork. "It's a useful language in my line of work." "I'm sure it is." He smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "You're very professional." "Thank you. Most servers your age are too chatty, too eager to please. You're different." Sophie kept her expression pleasant, neutral. "I just try to anticipate what guests need." "And what do you think I need?" The question hung in the air like a trap. "An excellent meal and minimal interruption," Sophie said. Zhao's smile widened. "Exactly right." He dismissed her with a slight wave and returned to his food. Sophie walked back to the kitchen, pulse hammering in her throat. Derek was waiting. "Everything okay?" "Fine, he's happy." "Good. Keep it that way." She nodded and moved past him, heading for the supply closet where she could think without being watched. The dinner was winding down when Derek pulled Sophie aside. "Zhao wants to speak with you." Sophie's stomach dropped. "About what?" "He didn't say, just asked for you specifically." Derek straightened her collar and brushed imaginary dust off her shoulder. "Remember, we're building a relationship here. Be professional, be pleasant. Within reason." Derek's smile thinned. "Be smart, Sophie. Men like Zhao don't make offers twice." Sophie approached table 14. Zhao had finished his meal. A cup of tea sat in front of him, steam rising in lazy spirals. "You wanted to see me, Mr. Zhao?" He gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit." It wasn't a request, and she didn't want to find out what would happen if she made a scene by denying. Sophie sat. Zhao studied her for a long moment. "You handled that situation with your colleague earlier very smoothly." "I just tried to help." "You did more than that. You diffused tension without making a scene. That's a valuable skill." He sipped his tea. "Derek's lucky to have you." "Thank you." Zhao reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. He set it on the table between them. "There's $1,000 in there," he said quietly. "For you." Sophie looked at the envelope, eyes wide, but she didn't touch it. "That's very generous, but tips are pooled." "It's not a tip." His voice dropped lower. "It's a gift. For making tonight perfect. For understanding that some customers require discretion." Sophie's pulse kicked up. He slid the envelope closer. "Derek said you were smart, capable, the kind of employee who understands how things work. I see that, and I love it." Sophie looked at the money. $1,000, more than any average worker can make in a week of tips. But she'd seen him grab Kate, heard the tremor in Kate's voice when she said, "It never matters." "I understand how service works," Sophie said carefully. "Good." He stood. "Hope to see more of you, Sophie." He walked toward the exit. Derek intercepted him near the door. Handshake, quiet conversation, Derek's smile wide and grateful. Sophie sat alone at the table, staring at the envelope. She picked up the envelope and walked to the back hallway where the security camera didn't quite reach. She pulled out her phone. 10:47 p.m. William Zhao just offered me $1,000. Called it a gift, not a tip. Said it was for discretion, for understanding that some customers require privacy. Her hand shook slightly. He knew what he did to Kate, and now he's paying me to look the other way. This is how it works. First the violence, then the money, then the silence. She tucked the envelope into her apron and saved the recording. Sophie was cleaning table 14 when someone sat down across from her. Jason, the overly friendly server from her first night. But his expression wasn't friendly now. "You took his money," Jason said quietly. Sophie looked up. "Excuse me?" "Zhao's envelope. I saw you take it." His voice was hard. "So you're one of them now." Sophie set down the cloth she'd been using. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know exactly what I'm talking about. I've been watching Derek for 3 weeks, watching how he operates, and now I'm watching you fall into the same trap." "Who are you?" "Someone who's trying to help people, but I can't help someone who's already been bought." Sophie's jaw tightened. "I'm not bought." "Then why'd you take the money?" "'Cause he gifted it to me. What was I supposed to do? Reject it?" Sophie replied. Jason's expression didn't change. "So you're working with Derek?" Sophie rolls her eyes. "Aren't we all?" Jason pulls her to the corner, away from the camera and away from prying eyes. "Everyone here is struggling to stay sane despite the harassment. And here you are, new girl, taking in heavy tips. I'm not blind, Sophie. Who are you? And how could you let him use you like this?" "I am just doing my job, Jason," she answered. "And I don't know what you're on about. But I am not in cohorts with anyone, especially the manager. Can't say the same for you, though." "What do you mean by that?" Jason hissed. "And how do I know you're not working with Derek?" Sophie shot back. "Isn't it convenient how you're always watching, always asking questions? Maybe you're his eyes among the workers. You could be the snitch telling him what workers to keep or let off." "What? No!" Jason countered immediately. "I'm a labor board investigator." Jason pulled something from his pocket. A badge. Sophie stared at it, then at him. "Prove it." "What?" "Call your supervisor. Right now. Let me verify that the badge is real." Jason's eyes narrowed. "You think I'm lying?" "I think Derek's smart enough to plant someone to catch people who may have ulterior motives. Someone who claims to be investigating him, getting info from the other workers while really protecting him." They stared at each other across the table. The dining room noise continued around them. Clinking glasses, quiet conversation, the distant clatter of the kitchen. But in their small bubble, silence. Finally, Jason pulled out his phone. "Fine," he dialed, waited. "Hey, it's Jason. Yeah, I need you to verify my credentials with someone. Labor investigator, badge number 4782. "Yeah, I'll put her on." He handed Sophie the phone. "Hello?" Sophie said. A woman's voice came through, professional and slightly annoyed. "This is Margaret Torres, regional supervisor for the labor board. Jason is one of my investigators. Badge number 4782. Currently assigned to an undercover operation investigating workplace harassment and wage theft. Is there anything else?" "No, thank you." Sophie handed the phone back, but she didn't trust him immediately. While Jason finished the call and pocketed his phone, she reached out to Davy, and it was only after David confirmed through his connections that Sophie finally eased up with Jason. "Satisfied?" Jason asked. "Yes." "So why did you take the money? Or is this his plan to flush out every old worker and bring in his willing girls?" "Willing girls?" "No," Sophie countered immediately. "I took it because I'm documenting it." She pulled out her phone and showed him the voice memo app. Every conversation, every bribe, every threat, time-stamped and recorded. Jason looked at her. Something shifted in his expression, suspicion melting into cautious hope. "What else do you have?" Sophie showed him her voice memos. Every entry, every timestamp, every recorded conversation. Jason listened to 3 of them. His jaw got tighter with each one. "Why are you doing this?" he asked finally. "Because we noticed something's been wrong for months. staff disappearing, and the numbers were too perfect. It was all too suspicious to overlook, and now I know why. She paused. What about you? Anonymous complaint some months ago. A former employee said Derek was running a protection racket, taking money from customers in exchange for access to compliant staff. Jason pulled out his phone and showed her a photo. Derek, Zhao, a third man she didn't recognize, all of them at a different restaurant, smiling, shaking hands. Zhao's been doing this at several other places in the city, Jason said, bribing staff, creating a network of restaurants where he and his associates can operate without oversight. Derek's trying to make Lunar one of them, and sources say he's planning to fire everyone who wouldn't comply, to hire willing, compliant girls, like you. Sophie stared at the photo. How long has this been going on? At least 12 months? Maybe longer. Jason put his phone away. But I can't prove conspiracy without catching them in the act, without recorded evidence of them explicitly stating what they're doing. Zhao's coming back tomorrow night, Sophie said. Derek told me to make sure everything's perfect, to anticipate his needs. Then tomorrow night we need to get him on record. Jason leaned forward. Both of them. He already grabbed Kate tonight, hard enough to leave marks. Derek didn't do anything about it. Jason's expression darkened. Then tomorrow we will make sure it stops. Permanently. Sophie thought about Kate in the walk-in cooler. Thought about the employees who disappeared without explanation. Thought about what they must have been put through for them to quit on the spot. What would you need from me? She asked. Keep that envelope. Keep documenting everything. I'll wear my glasses camera. It has a hidden lens that records everything. He paused. And tomorrow night, when Zhao makes his move, whatever it is, let him talk. Let Derek talk. What if they don't say enough? Then we push, carefully, make them comfortable enough to say what they're really thinking. Jason's voice was steel. Men like Zhao think they're untouchable. That confidence makes them sloppy. And when we have enough, I call it in. The police come. We end this. Sophie nodded slowly. One more thing, Jason said. After tomorrow, you need to be ready for fallout. Derek's going to realize someone set him up. He might come after you. Let him try. Jason almost smiled. You're tougher than you look. I get that a lot. He stood. Tomorrow night. Stay sharp. You too. He walked away, melting back into the flow of servers and kitchen noise. Sophie sat alone at table 14, the envelope heavy in her pocket, her phone warm against her hip. Derek was watching her from across the room. He raised a hand, smiled, and pointed toward his office. Sophie walked over. You did great tonight, Derek said. Zhao was impressed. I just did my job. That's exactly what I told him. Derek opened a drawer and pulled out another envelope. This is from me. Bonus for handling VIPs so well. Sophie took it. It was lighter than Zhao's, maybe $200. Derek, you earned it, and there's more where that came from if you keep Zhao happy. He leaned back in his chair. Men like him are the future of this place. If we can become his go-to spot, his private retreat, we'll never have to worry about business again. Sophie forced a smile. What does he need a private retreat for? Derek's expression went carefully blank. Everyone needs somewhere they can relax without judgment, where they can be themselves. And what's he like when he's himself? Generous? Derek stood. That's all that matters. Sophie left his office with 2 envelopes in her pocket and recordings that would ruin him. She texted Davy. Tomorrow night. It ends tomorrow night. His response came seconds later. I'll be ready. Be careful. I love you. I love you too. Sophie walked out into Dazentaiv, the night, the city lights blurring around her, her hands steady for the first time all week. Tomorrow night, William Zhao would walk through those doors expecting power, expecting compliance, expecting silence. and Sophie was going to give him exactly what he deserved. But first, she had to update her parents and let them know she had it under control. Saturday arrived like a storm on the horizon. Inevitable, electric, dangerous. Sophie stood outside Lunar at 5:45 p.m., watching the sun bleed orange across the skyline. Her phone buzzed. Davy. "You don't have to do this. We can call it in right now." She typed back. "He hasn't said enough yet. We need him on record." She pocketed her phone and pushed through the entrance. The dining room hummed with pre-service energy. Servers moved through their opening routines, folding napkins, polishing glasses, checking table settings. Everything had to be perfect. Tonight more than ever. Derek was already at the host stand, tablet glowing in his hands. He looked up when Sophie approached. "Ready?" he asked. "Ready." "Zhao's bringing associates tonight, 2 of them." Derek's voice was tight with controlled excitement. "This is the big audition. If tonight goes well, we will become his regular spot." "And if it doesn't?" Derek's smile was sharp as broken glass. "It will." He handed her the table assignment. Table 14, again. Zhao and 2 guests. "Kate's handling the other VIP tables tonight," Derek said. "I want you to focus entirely on Zhao. Whatever he needs, whatever he wants, you make it happen." Sophie nodded. "Understood." She found Jason at the bar, arranging wine bottles. His glasses, the ones with the hidden camera, caught the light. Their eyes met briefly. A silent question. She gave the smallest nod. He returned it and looked away. Kate appeared at Sophie's elbow, face pale. "Derek said you're on Zhao tonight." "Yeah." "Be careful. After last night..." Kate touched her wrist where the red mark had faded to a faint bruise. "Men like him think money makes them untouchable." "It doesn't." Kate's laugh was hollow. "Tell that to everyone who's tried to prove it." She walked away before Sophie could respond. Sophie checked her phone one more time. Voice memo app open, ready to record. Then she straightened her shoulders and returned to the floor. William Zhao walked in at 8:47 p.m. exactly, the same time as last night, like clockwork, like a man who valued precision. But tonight, he wasn't alone. 2 men flanked him. Both wore suits that screamed old money and new power. Both carried themselves with the same casual arrogance that Zhao did, the walk of men who'd never faced real consequences. Derek intercepted them at the entrance. Sophie couldn't hear the conversation, but she saw Derek's posture shift. She saw him laugh at something one of them said. Saw him lead them toward table 14 with the careful attention of a man guiding explosives. Sophie approached with water and menus. "Good evening, Mr. Zhao. Gentlemen?" Zhao looked up. Recognition flickered across his face. "Sophie, good to see you again." "You as well. Can I start you with something to drink?" "Bourbon. Neat." Zhao gestured to his companions. "They'll have the same." Sophie noted it down. "The chef has prepared a special tasting menu for tonight. Would you like me to walk you through it?" "Not necessary. We'll take whatever he recommends." Zhao leaned back in his chair. "We're here for the company more than the food." The older associate, silver-haired, expensive watch, smiled. "Though if the food's as good as you said, William, we might become regulars." "That's the goal." Zhao's eyes found Sophie's. "Isn't it?" "We'd be honored to have you," Sophie said smoothly. She retreated to the bar and found Derek already there, practically vibrating with anticipation. "This is it," he said quietly. "If they like tonight, we're set. Zhao's network alone could triple our VIP revenue." Sophie poured the bourbon. "What exactly does his network need from us?" Derek's expression flickered. "Discretion, privacy. A place where they can conduct business without interference." "What kind of business?" "The kind that requires trust." He picked up the glasses. "I'll take these. You handle the food." He walked away before she could push further. Sophie found Jason in the kitchen, loading plates. She leaned close. "They're talking about business that requires privacy," she murmured. "Derek said trust, nothing specific yet." "Keep listening," Jason said, adjusting his glasses. Camera's rolling. They'll get comfortable. That's when they slip. Sophie nodded and grabbed the first course. The first two courses passed in careful choreography. Zhao and his associates ate. They talked quietly, laughed occasionally. Sophie moved through the service with mechanical precision, present but invisible, efficient but unmemorable. Then the conversation switched to Japanese. Sophie was refilling water when it happened. The older associate said something that made Zhao laugh, a comment about the ambiance, the lighting, how restaurants like this were perfect for meetings that never officially happened. Sophie's hand didn't shake. Her expression didn't change. She finished pouring and set down the pitcher. But she'd heard every word. The third course, the fourth. Zhao and his associates continued talking, switching between English and Japanese. The meal was winding down when Sophie heard it. She was approaching table 14 with dessert menus when the younger associate, mid-30s, with a wedding ring, expensive cologne, leaned toward Zhao and spoke in Japanese. "What about the brunette? The one who was here last night?" Sophie kept walking, set down the menus, stood at attention. Zhao glanced at her, then back to his associate, replied in Japanese. "Kate, she's too skittish, cries too easily." The older associate laughed. "What about this one?" He nodded toward Sophie. Sophie's blood turned to ice, but her face remained perfectly neutral, professional, like she didn't understand a single word. The younger associate leaned back, studying her openly. "She's prettier, stronger spine. Think Derek could arrange something private? After closing?" Zhao's expression shifted. Something possessive flickered across his face. "That one's mine," he said in Japanese. His voice was casual, conversational, like discussing ownership of a car. "If anyone's having her tonight, it's me." The younger associate raised his hands in mock surrender. "You always get the first pick." "I pay for the privilege." They all laughed. Sophie stood there, dessert menus in her hand, a smile fixed on her face, every word burning into her memory. "Can I get you anything else?" she asked in English. Zhao looked up at her. His smile was warm, charming, the smile of a man who had no idea she'd understood every word. "Just the check," he said. "We have business to discuss with Derek." "Of course." Sophie walked away on legs that felt like they might give out. She made it to the kitchen, made it to the walk-in cooler, made it inside before her hands started shaking. She pulled out her phone. 9:47 p.m. Zhao's associate just asked if Derek could arrange something private with me. After closing, Zhao said... Her voice cracked. She stopped, breathed, started again. "Zhao said I'm his, that if anyone's having me tonight, it's him. He said he pays for the privilege. They were talking about me like I'm property, like I'm something Derek can arrange for them." She saved the recording. Jason appeared in the doorway. "You okay?" "No." Sophie looked up at him. "But I will be when this is over." "What did they say?" She played him the recording. I watched his face go from concern to rage. "We end this," he said quietly. "Tonight. Now. Not yet. We need them to say it to Derek, on record, explicitly." Jason's jaw worked. "Sophie, I can handle this. Just be ready." He studied her face, then nodded. "The camera's been rolling this whole time. I got everything." "Good." They returned to the floor. Zhao was already at Derek's office by the time Sophie brought the check. Through the window, she could see them talking. Derek animated, gesturing, Zhao calm and controlled. Derek saw her and waved her in. "Sophie, join us." It wasn't a request. She entered. Zhao's associates were there too, standing near the desk like bodyguards. Derek smiled. "Mr. Zhao was just telling me how impressed he is with your service." "I appreciate that," Sophie said. Zhao pulled an envelope from his jacket, thicker than last night's. He set it on Derek's desk. "There's $2,000 in there," he said quietly. "Same as yesterday." Sophie looked at the envelope, then at Derek. Derek was nodding encouragingly, like a parent watching their child open a birthday present. Mr. Zhao, that's very generous, but let me finish. Zhao's voice was silk over steel. Yesterday, I gave you money for excellent service. Tonight, I'm giving you money for understanding. Sophie's throat tightened. Understanding what? That men in my position require certain accommodations, privacy, discretion, staff who know when to see things, when to look away, and what things to do at certain times. The older associate stepped forward. Derek's vouched for this place, said you run a tight ship, professional, reliable, no loose ends. Derek nodded. Lunar's the most discreet establishment in the city. Our staff understands the value of privacy. Sophie's mind raced. Derek had already sold them, already promised the restaurant would provide whatever Zhao wanted. I just try to provide good service, Sophie said carefully. Service means different things to different people. Zhao slid the envelope closer. To us, it means understanding that sometimes conversations happen here that aren't meant to be repeated, that sometimes guests arrive who aren't on any official records, that sometimes arrangements are made that require cooperation. The room felt smaller, hotter. What kind of arrangements? Sophie asked. Zhao smiled. The kind that benefits everyone. Derek benefits, the restaurant benefits, and staff who cooperate. He tapped the envelope. They benefit most of all. You're asking me to ignore illegal activity, Sophie said. The air froze. Then Zhao laughed, loud enough that it echoed off the office walls. Illegal? No, just private. There's a difference. Is there? His smile vanished. There is when I say there is. Derek shifted nervously. Sophie, Mr. Zhao is offering you an opportunity. I understand what he's offering. Sophie looked at the envelope. I'm just trying to understand what he expects in return. The younger associate smirked. Smart girl. She wants terms. Zhao leaned back against Derek's desk. Here are the terms. I'm going to make this restaurant my regular spot. I'm going to bring associates. We're going to conduct business here. And sometimes that business requires privacy. Complete privacy. And the staff? The staff will be accommodating, friendly, understanding, satisfying. His eyes locked on hers. Especially the VIP staff. Sophie's skin crawled. Accommodating how? However we need them to be. Derek jumped in. Mr. Zhao just means professional attention, making sure guests are comfortable. I mean whatever I want it to mean, Zhao said coldly. That's the point of paying for privacy. I shouldn't have to explain myself. He pushed the envelope against Sophie's hand. Take it. Join the family. I really like you. Sophie looked at the envelope. $500. Blood money. What happens if I take this? Sophie asked quietly. Then you become part of something bigger than one restaurant. Zhao's voice was smooth again. And families take care of each other. And if I don't, then you become a problem, and I don't keep people around who create problems. Derek's face went pale. Mr. Zhao, I'm sure. Sophie just needs a moment to... I don't need a moment. Sophie picked up the envelope. Zhao's smile widened. Then she set it back down. I need to understand exactly what I'm agreeing to, because it sounds like you're asking me to let you and your associates do whatever you want with the staff, including me. Silence. The younger associate's smirk disappeared. The older one's expression went cold. Derek looked like he might be sick. Zhao's voice dropped to a whisper. Sit down. I'd rather stand. I said sit down. His hand shot out, not grabbing yet, but reaching for her wrist. Mr. Zhao, you're going to take that money. You're going to smile, and you're going to understand that when I tell you to do something, you do it. Derek stepped forward. Sophie, just what? Sophie pulled her wrist back. Just let him touch me? Just let him talk about me like I'm something you can sell? Nobody's selling anyone, Derek said desperately. Mr. Zhao is just what? Sophie's voice rose. Just offering me money to be available whenever he wants? Just expecting me to look the other way when he grabs Kate and the others? Just assuming I'll let him and his friends do whatever they want because they're rich? Zhao's face flushed red. Watch your mouth. Or what? He lunged, grabbed her wrist, hard. Pain shot up Sophie's arm. His fingers dug into her bones, thumb pressing into the exact spot he'd grabbed Kate the night before. You're going to learn some respect, Zhao hissed. Derek's voice cracked. Mr. Zhao, please. Shut up, Derek. You promised me this place was secure, that your staff understood how things work. But this one, he yanked Sophie closer. This one thinks she can disrespect me. Sophie looked him dead in the eye. Let go of me. Make me. The office door opened. Jason stood there, badge raised, phone recording. William Zhao, I'm a labor board investigator. You're currently assaulting an employee while attempting to bribe her into illegal activity. I have everything on camera. Zhao released Sophie's wrist, stumbled back. This is entrapment. This is justice. Sophie pulled out her phone and held it up. Voice memos, time-stamped. Every conversation, every bribe, every threat, including the one 20 minutes ago where your associate asked if Derek could arrange something private with me after closing, and you said I was yours, that if anyone was having me tonight, it was you. The color drained from Zhao's face. Jason stepped into the office. I've been documenting your network for weeks. Several restaurants. More than 43 employees. All of them report the same pattern. Bribes, harassment, threats. And now I have you, on camera, assaulting someone while explicitly stating you expect sexual access to staff in exchange for money. The older associate moved toward the door. Jason blocked him. Nobody leaves. I've already called the police. They're 2 minutes out. Derek tried to run. Jason grabbed his arm. Derek Huang, you're complicit in everything. Accepting bribes, facilitating harassment, enabling assault. Jason's voice was steel. You're done. Sophie looked at Derek, at the man her parents had trusted, who'd smiled and laughed and remembered everyone's birthday while selling his staff to the highest bidder. You saw him grab Kate, Sophie said quietly. You saw the marks on her wrist, and you did nothing. I was trying to keep the business. You were trying to keep the money. She held up her phone. My boyfriend works with the DA's office. When Jason calls with probable cause, they listen. And Jason's not just calling about you. He's calling about Zhao's entire network. Zhao's face twisted with rage. You have nothing that will stick. The office door burst open. Kate stood there, then Lena, then 3 other servers Sophie didn't know well. Kate's voice shook but held. He touched me 2 weeks ago. Derek told me if I complained, I'd be fired. Lena stepped forward. He paid me to lie about hours. Said everyone does it. Another server. He threatened me when I tried to quit. Said he'd make sure I never worked in this city again. Another. He made me serve his table in a skirt he picked out. When I refused, Derek cut my hours. More voices, more stories. All of them are pouring out like water from a broken dam. Zhao looked around, at the phones recording him, at the witnesses surrounding him, at Jason with his badge raised and camera recording. This is harassment, he said. I'll destroy business. I will bring it to the ground. You'll do nothing. Sophie's voice cut through the chaos. Because I am Sophie Walter, first daughter of the actual owners of this place, and I can assure you, there is absolutely nothing you can do. You just confessed, in front of witnesses, while assaulting me, while Derek stood there and told me to let you. There's no talking your way out of this. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Police entered 90 seconds later. Derek tried to explain. He tried to say it was a misunderstanding, tried to claim he didn't know what Zhao was really asking for. But Jason had the recordings, the camera footage, the witness statements, and Sophie had the voice memos. Hours of documentation that painted a picture so clear even the best lawyer couldn't blur it. Derek was detained for questioning. Zhao and his associates were escorted out in handcuffs, already making calls, already threatening lawsuits. But the damage was done. The evidence was recorded. The witnesses were talking. And Sophie stood in the center of it all, wrist throbbing where Zhao had grabbed it, voice steady, eyes clear. Kate approached her. Tears were streaming down her face. "Why'd you do it? You could have just fired Derek, called the cops anonymously." Sophie looked at her, at the fading bruise on Kate's wrist that matched the fresh one forming on her own. "Because we needed full evidence to catch them red-handed. Because working here makes you all my extended family, and I had to do everything I could to get you proper justice, not cover it up." Kate pulled her into a hug that lasted long enough for both of them to breathe. Lena joined them, then the other servers, all of them standing together in the wreckage of Derek's office, holding each other up. Jason finished his call with the police, approached Sophie. "You okay? Ask me tomorrow." He almost smiled. "Fair enough. Your boyfriend's outside. Thought you might want to see him." Sophie nodded. Then she walked out of the office, through the dining room where confused guests were being escorted out by police, through the entrance where crime scene tape was already going up. Davy was there, waiting. She walked into his arms and finally let herself shake. 1 week later, the restaurant was closed for renovations. Not only physical ones, but structural ones. Sophie's parents sat in the office, surrounded by new policies, new procedures, and new everything. "Anonymous reporting hotline," her father said, checking items off a list. "Third-party HR, mandatory anti-harassment training, security cameras with no blind spots." Her mother looked at Sophie. "We failed. We failed our staff. We didn't see what was happening." "You couldn't see it," Sophie said. "That's how these things work. They hide in plain sight until someone shines a light." "You shone more than a light." Her father's voice was rough. "You risked everything." "So did they." Sophie gestured toward the dining room, where Kate and Lena were helping reorganize. "They just needed someone to go first." Her phone buzzed. Davy's name. She excused herself and answered. "Hey, Jason just called." Davy's voice was bright with barely contained excitement. "William Zhao's company is under federal investigation. RICO charges. Your testimony opened the door for other workers to come forward." Sophie's breath caught. "How many people?" 93 total, across 6 cities, all of them with similar stories. Bribes, harassment, threats, assault. Your recording of him grabbing you and saying you were his gave them the courage to speak up. She leaned against the wall. "Is it enough?" "It's enough for federal charges. Zhao's looking at 20 years minimum. His associates are already making deals. And Derek..." Davy paused. "Derek's facing charges in multiple jurisdictions. He's done." "Good. There's more. The DA wants to use your case as a template, training for other investigators, showing how to document and build cases against networks like this." Sophie closed her eyes. "I just wanted to stop him." "You stopped all of them. Zhao's entire operation is collapsing. Every restaurant he corrupted is being investigated. Every employee he threatened is getting protection." Davy's voice softened. "You changed the system, Sophie. Not just for this restaurant. For everyone." She exhaled slowly. "It doesn't feel like enough. It never does. But it's more than anyone else was able to do." "When are you coming over?" "Already on my way, bringing food." "You're perfect." "I know. I love you. I love you too." She hung up and returned to the office. Kate was there now, sitting with Sophie's parents, going through the new procedures, offering suggestions and pointing out gaps. Her father was listening, really listening, taking notes, asking questions. Her mother was writing down every suggestion, every concern, every small truth that had been buried for too long. Sophie watched Kate speak with the confidence she'd never shown before. She watched her parents learn from their mistakes instead of defending them. Outside, the city moved on. Indifferent, relentless, alive. But inside Lunar, something fundamental had changed. The staff wasn't afraid anymore, and that was worth everything. The end. Sometimes the hardest part isn't finding the courage to stand up. It's realizing you were strong enough all along, and that your voice, your truth, can light fires that burn down empires built on silence. If you love this story, hit that like button and subscribe. Because the world needs more people like Sophie. More people who refuse to stay silent when silence becomes complicity. And if you've ever had to choose between staying quiet and speaking up, remember this: your voice matters. Your truth matters. And sometimes all it takes is one person willing to say enough. See you in the next one.